The three of you start traveling down to Sun River, towards El Despoblado, towards the endless night. The canyon walls are black and blue in the occasionally flashing of distant lightning. A light rain falls on the windshield as you drive through seemingly endless miles of asphalt. You, for a while, are caught up with the rest of industrial travel, heading down towards normal towns and cities closer to the cold side, but then pull off onto a side road that rarely is taken, carving through these tiny gashes of the Sun River, hundreds of feet up you on either side, and the already fading twilight becomes the earliest moments of night. Dark except for the lights hitting the rain as you drive along. What does Claudius's vehicle look like?
I think we stole Texas. What I picture in my head is not quite a town car, but not yet a limo with the half fin on the back, and they just have gold trim, like something a Saudi prince gets driven around in. Entirely matte black, other than on the hood, there's a swept back crow hood ornament in chrome, and then a shiny black that goes over the entire hood and then like up and over of these two very stylized wings going along the top and the sides.
Can the bodywork be an exaggerated old school Rolls Royce where at the front it like bubbles up and then swoops down into the back so the car sort of looks like a wing almost?
Yes, that's great. And it's armored to hell. It is clearly a car to be driven around in, not driven, and not long enough that it's cumbersome to get around corners, but long enough to make a statement that this car is nicer than your entire apartment or house is.
The Balthazar Correctional Facility is built in the grave of an old quarry. Dug long ago mining for some precious minerals they couldn't get in the asteroids in this system. And so now there's just this complex, this facility in the bottom of it, lit up like a sterile Christmas tree. Nothing but white lights as far as you can see, and almost blinding in this light. It's hard to even make out the structure of the facility. As you drive down these winding paths where they took out stone hundreds of years ago driving down, you do manage to make out some of it. It's split into many unique sections, going from the highest security, like you'd imagine a high security prison looking like, barbed wire on the outside, guard towers, uninspired square buildings with minimal yards, and then moving to those, more white collar crimes where looks more like a college campus with minimal security, and then moving finally to A block. A block is basically a suburb. There are individual living spaces for specific inmates that have the cash to throw at the prison system. Of course, it's wildly more expensive than it would be to rent something of the same size back in the city even. But since they are running it, they can set the prices however they want. And if you happen to be a Taurus or a Giddens or a Frontenac stuck in prison, you bet your ass you're going for the upcharge. There's a central area overlooking the suburb-like construction that's just a big old tower. It's about 40 feet tall, and it's shaped sort of like a door wedge. This concrete sloping up against the side the storms most commonly come against, the other side kind of getting a windbreak from the blue cliffs that rise above this facility. From there, they can keep a lookout over everything, and you can just sort of drive in. It's not really expected that anyone that's paying that kind of money is going to go for an escape attempt. It's also where the offices are for this place, so it's up to you if you wanted to head there first or just try to find A47. This entire high-class area is A block.
If we go to an office, they might already be paid off. I think we should just go to the address.
I would agree. I don't think we need to tip off anyone if we can help it. And even if we can, I don't know if you have to sign in or, register while you're here, but I'm sure we could fake that.
Yeah, I think you probably could turn off your lights and just try to drive up to it and hope they don't bother you by the time you're in and out. That does sound like a stealth roll. Feels weird to make a stealth roll for driving, but
I don't know. Drive drive casual.
It could just be that trying to drive like you're supposed to be there. Actually, how about a performance roll? Just roll against flat. If you make it, you're going to have a small window, and if you get a raise, you're going to have a much larger window to play with of time.
Have a D6 in performance because maybe you need that in the courtroom sometimes. Dual 5s, so a 5 and a 5.
Well, yeah, you managed to drive casual and look like you're maybe just visiting a client. I think there still will be a bit of attention drawn. There's still like a searchlight that gets put on you for a moment as you're driving, and then it seems to push away. As you pull up to this, basically looks like a house, although the almanac version of it. So it's much lower to the ground. None of the windows are poking out too much, and they're all pretty small. Probably built of concrete, and then some parts have reinforced steel on the outside that's been weatherproofed. Basically anything to keep the wind from getting underneath it and pulling it out. There's probably a recessed driveway, almost like a tunnel that goes a little bit down into the ground, and then you can access the front door from there. As you drive in there, you are close enough to the tower, let's say, that you see someone like walk out and maybe stare in your direction before you drive into this tunnel of a driveway. As we see you exit, the rain's still falling. You can hear it splashing on the driveway and the dirt outside of this dwelling. Wind whistling through as it always does. And as you make your way to the front door, there's like a security thing. I think we're going to need you to roll to get past Ulysses. I don't think you can just walk into one of these places.
Ulysses, during this outing, is doing his best to be a good boy, trying to follow instructions as given. He is not leading, he is following, and he is there to provide whatever adequate and appropriate support that he can, because it's been made clear to him that he done fucked up. So he will first look to Vivian, try to attain permission to... He'll just look to her and then back to the lock and say, "Should I?"
Well, I can't do it.
"I just want to make sure I'm following protocol."
We can talk about that later.
"Very well."
A computer's roll would be great.
I got a 17.
Ooh.
As Ulysses is sort of just going by the numbers, doing this apparently menial task, he just turns back to the others in very casual conversation, just says, "So, how are we playing this? I'm happy to follow whatever lead and keep my mouth shut or look foreboding, or... I kept the bullets they pulled out of me. There was at least one. Where did I put those? Perhaps we could intimidate them with that."
That's good. We should do that.
We see him hold up his finger. One of the panels near his wrist opens up, and a small, screwdriver apparatus comes out on a spindle, and he grabs it in his hand and just busts the thing open in the cleanest way possible to access the circuit board or ports within, and then jacks in with his cyberjack, and then we see this LED interface scrolling in front of his face that only he can see as he just starts moving through and rearranging code and cracking in.
You can hack in no problem, unlock the door, bypass the security that would send a silent alarm somewhere. With some raises, some information you could glean, and you could see if you want anything else from me. I think you can tell the last time that this was accessed was probably literally yesterday. And then before that, it doesn't seem like this door has been accessed for 2 months. You can also tell that there's not currently any inmate assigned to this dwelling. It currently should be empty. Is there anything else you want to know?
He'll relay this information back to them just as he's doing this. "It looks like it's been some time since someone was here, with the exception of yesterday, and there's no one currently assigned to this domicile. Do you think I should cut the power? It could potentially seal off avenues of escape for them or us. I could kill the lights. We could make a dramatic entrance."
Kill the lights.
We just see a smile spread across Ulysses' mouth. "I'll wait until we're ready so that we don't waste time. Is there anything else we need to cover before going in?"
If no one is currently staying here, why would they have summoned this group here? More to the point, do you think this is perhaps something we shouldn't walk into so brazenly? Is it worth figuring out who else might be around here in case they are the ones coordinating this? I don't know if that has any value to us at all.
But why would we come and investigate ourselves?
Even so, they might have set up a bomb to blow up the hapless fools who carried it out to cover their tracks. That seems quite clean to me.
I would agree.
It would certainly draw unwarranted attention. I would expect is the last thing that the well-to-do inmates would desire, but if they're confident in covering their own tracks, it seems feasible.
Vivian taps by the corner of her eye, looking at Ulysses and says, "Can you do like an ocular sweep?"
Can I do an ocular sweep, Caleb? Yeah, is there any way that my raises could assist me in trying to check for possible traps or devices that might have been set up within?
Sure, since it is a domicile in an incarceration facility, there's probably a bunch of surveillance technology surrounding it. So if you want to try to access some of that on the outside, I think you definitely could do that. I would say with your raises, just do it flat instead of the negatives you would probably accrue from trying to hack that level of security.
Okay. I blew an 8 into an 8 into a 4. 22 on that one.
Maybe all the security systems then are all interconnected, which you think is kind of a problem because once you get in somewhere, you get in everywhere. And sure enough, that is the deal. I think you do it all through this front door keypad. The cameras in about half the rooms have been disabled somehow. With such a high raise, they've probably been just ripped out of the wall. You can tell by a circuit not being complete, checking the security functions that they've just been ripped out. Besides that, let's say, since it's a prison facility, they have some sort of scanner where you could scan for residue of bombs and such. Those always come with certain things you could scan for. I don't know how they do that. I guess dogs can find them, so they have some sort of sniffer device, can pick up on scents, and it doesn't look like there are any of those present. What else would you like to know?
Any kind of sound detection? Like if there are mics wired to the cameras, can we determine if there's any unusual noise coming from inside that would give away signs of life? Like a heartbeat monitor so that they could check to track the people in the house, or
that's cool.
Even monitor whether they're dead or, have taken extreme steps in that way.
I think at the very least, having an audio record of the house, that makes total sense. If you scroll back through to yesterday, today, build an algorithm on the fly to look for noise that seems like people, I think it would be pretty clear that there's nobody in there and that one person arrived yesterday. They walked through the parts of the house where the cameras have been disabled, and it seems like those cameras have been disabled for a while, but it seems like they walked through the rooms where the cameras were disabled. They stayed for 2 minutes and then they left. No one has been in here since. Maybe an idea I had is that while they could disable these cameras, it would take a lot more effort to disable the other security functions of the prison. They couldn't disable any security monitors that are on the tower. So if you later wanted to mess with potentially pissing off the Wilders, you could always try to access those security records later.
I was just going to ask, are the Wilders also in charge of the prisons? Which makes perfect sense and makes me want to kill Tag even more.
We're gonna have some issues with the Wilders. I'll relay all of that information in character.
You know what, Vivian? Why don't you make a notice roll for me?
Got a D4. I'd like to Benny that one. Blowing up, that's an 8.
As Ulysses is relaying this information, I think as you're talking them through someone walking through the house, you play a clip of the audio walking through. And with a 4, Allie, you could tell that they're wearing boots. And with an 8, you can tell they're wearing heels.
Ooh.
So everyone who wears heels is a suspect. We've narrowed the pool.
Everyone, even Vivian.
Tag is on thin ice.
You shouldn't walk on thin ice in those heels.
Vivian's like, well, they're wearing heels, but that's not uncommon for, a fancy area of the prison. Also boots. I assume they're not very fashionable.
So they're heeled boots, right? They're heeled boots.
Oh, they're heeled
so they're
boots?
not high heels.
Oh, okay. So they're boots with a heel, not high heels.
I see. Okay.
Yes.
Okay, never mind. Rescinded. A solid heel on them rather than like the rubber treads on like hiking boots.
Right. They seem like fashion boots that have like kind of high heels, you know.
Okay, so it's not the click clack, but
close.
So it's more like the pointed clomp,
so they're just one
cowboy boots, maybe.
What are these? What are these?
Those are heeled boots. That's exactly what I would have called them.
A nice high pitch click clack then.
The visual aid is helpful. They're like little booties, little cute fashion heel
Cute
booties.
booties.
Little baby booty boys.
Cute booties.
Also, maybe we can call them Heelys. I don't think that's taken.
No, I think you should.
I don't think so.
Not in this universe.
TM.
Well, when the Crows lose their edict license, we can buy the Heelys license and just manufacture shoes.
Thank God. I think Vivian's assessing every scrap of info that they've coalesced and is becoming increasingly more uneasy. It doesn't make sense. Something's not adding up.
If I may present an idea, I think we should go in, take a look around, safely of course, see if we can find anything, and then perhaps look around for this Calgin person. That was the point of contact, the reference, so it could be someone else to shake down, bodily threaten, whatever it is that makes it happen.
I think Vivian's just watching the street now that they came. She's feeling like the threats, if any are present, are going to come from behind them now. And she says, why don't we get inside?
I'll cut the lights. And he does. And then he will unlock the door so they can proceed into the spooky domicile.
Then we probably see this from Claudius's point of view, as Ulysses and Vivian have no trouble as their cat eyes light up in the night, right? Their cybernetic implants. As you walk inside, the door shuts behind. The ambient light that was present from the prison sort of fades down, and it's really just dark. As you follow these two through this house, it's got kind of high vaulted ceilings. It's all pre-furnished with sort of generic high-end stuff. There's a living room, there's a kitchen, there's a dining room, there's a place for entertainment with a VR setup and stuff, but looks really unlived in. The art hanging on the walls is prints on canvas of just generic landscapes of Almanac or Earth or any of the other colonies that Earthlings have landed on. But there is a small light from up ahead. As all the lights in the house have been turned off by Ulysses, there's a small light blinking green ahead. And as we follow Claudius following his companions further into this house, on a bar in the kitchen, there is just like an iPad-sized tablet. There's nothing else on the counters except a bowl of fake apples. This tablet has been propped up. It's got a little blinking light at the top left of it. The screen is in sleep mode. And you can tell as you're walking through, Ulysses, the path that you took to get here, there's this sort of main hallway that goes between all these rooms until you arrive at the kitchen. And as you look up, you can see that cameras have just their wires cut and pulled off from here all the way down the hallway and into the kitchen. And all the other cameras have been left untouched, except for one in the living room that seemed like it was facing towards the hallway, and it barely would have been able to see anything. Like maybe it just would have seen feet, and that one has also been cut off.
Is the iPad tablet, is it arranged in such a way that it looks like it's pointed up so the video would be like potentially live streaming the images of people who walked in here?
That definitely could be a concern. If you want to try to make some roll to mitigate that option or just go around and approach it from the back, you can totally do that.
Approaching from behind would be the wisest course of action, given that maybe as part of his previous role, he was able to suss out the general path that the person took through these rooms with the cut cameras and just try to retrace their steps to approach from a safe angle, let's say, so as not to give away their identities. Maybe he'll place a finger to his lips to the others and then just sort of beckon them to follow him, and he will proceed with extreme caution, still doing his best to keep an eye out for tripwires linked to shotguns or unexpected things that might trip them up here.
You cut through this old den area that has a large entertainment center on one side of the wall and a machine you don't recognize, but the audience would recognize as a skee ball machine that's been set up, but is like kind of old and dilapidated, as the antique that it is has been through many moves to get here. And as you come around from behind, like moving into the kitchen, you can just see that blinking light the other way. But as you approach, you do kind of peek over the top at a safe angle, and you can definitely tell that there is a camera that is sending a live. Fuck it. You've rolled so well. I'm going to tell you it's sending a live feed, or at least you would bet heavily that it's sending a live feed. There is ways to access this thing without tipping off someone on the other side that someone is here.
Yeah, I think whatever option would occur to him as trying to refrain from disrupting the setup as much as possible, because if somebody is paying attention, any kind of motion or jostling or sound coming through, so ideally if he can connect to it from a safe distance and then even disable sound on this end so that they can speak freely without tipping somebody off on the other side, then they can at least like stay behind it and talk about what's going on and figure out next steps from there.
I'm going to say, as a character that just hacked into a prison security system and like cut off lights to a house, you can do that without a roll. You access it, you mute it, you even make it look like it's not muted. Yeah, you can pull up a feed to your wife and Claudius here. How do you display it to them?
We could either go with the projected ocular feed, like normally it just shows stuff in front of him, but he does have the eye cybernetics, so maybe when he desires it, it can either project something like a normal projector onto a wall.
I like that.
That's very cool.
Yeah, I like onto a wall. That's pretty sick. It doesn't seem like anyone on the other side is going to be able to notice you've accessed this so far. You open it up. It has been wiped clean. It does seem like it's a very new device, and everything has been uninstalled that came with it, and only one thing has been installed, which is the name of the app that we get to make up right now. It's the Almanac version of WhatsApp. It's like a anonymous peer-to-peer messaging service. Oh, what if it's share, but air is spelled A-I-R?
Oh,
That's fun.
good.
I like that. That's good.
And their mascot is Share.
Perfect.
Oh my god, is she still alive?
Well, they bought her likeness rights.
Okay, so now that Ulysses has disabled the sound/mic function, he will let his companions know that is the case and they can speak freely, but caution them to stand not in front of it no matter what.
The messaging service just has one contact that's unnamed, and there's a message from that one contact that just says, "Who's coming to dinner?"
Not Ulysses Rook, I'll tell you what. He's very dead.
Very dead. Who's coming to dinner? So this is projecting a video feed. Is there a way he can like reverse engineer it to see who might be watching or where the feed is connecting to?
An IP address or something?
Yeah, like if he, I don't know, at the extreme of that, if he can like hack through to their video camera to see like who's sitting at their computer eating chips waiting, you know?
To me, the purpose of a service like this is that it is kind of untraceable.
Sure.
Whoever set this up is very clearly aware of that. I'll give you a couple options. I would say if you want to go to that level of extreme, that would be mind-bogglingly hard. It's probably like a -6, which for Ulysses doesn't fucking matter because you're going to blow it up. But if you wanted to scale back the ask, we could make it easier.
I think whatever makes the most sense within the narrative and the world, like it is very clearly meant to be an anonymous service. So it would make sense to me if part of that was that it's supposed to be super hard to trace people. So I don't know. I don't want to like pull out the magic solve for everything.
There is an interesting implication here, which is presumably this network is run by the Wilders. So anyone who has access to it would be related to them, or at least that they've gotten access through the Wilders in some way, right? Because we're away from the city. They don't have a direct connection. That means anything going in or out, just like a prison, the data would be controlled in some way too. That implies this is someone related to the Wilders, or they've been paid off, or can we go somewhere more central and find out more? like up to the tower and look for who came here or who's logged into the network with them, or is there something like that too that we could find out?
I think that makes a lot of sense, and I like that idea a lot. That's a very good insight. Let's see if what we can do is track the equivalent of like a user ID or an IP address for whomever sent the message or something like that we could potentially take to the computer database in the tower, and then reroute it that way to track it further, or to sort of narrow down the pool of people who it might be, in conjunction with potentially getting access to their video feeds.
Oh, I like that. Let's just have you make a computers roll. Let's do it at -1.
On top of that, as a possibility for later, if we can either set up a remote connect to us while we're going to the tower, or just come back here after we do our investigation, maybe that's the point where we can, try to input the code word or whatever to trigger something. And then while we do that, we could track in real time where the data is going and how it fires on the network, sort of, to help us narrow things down that way.
Like hack the service so it's not just sending a message, it's like sending a message with a Trojan horse to like identify the user on the other end if you got close enough to them or something.
Or even too, we would know whether it left this area. If they have whatever the technology is, a fiber line back to the city, I think it would be pretty easy to tell, did it go all the way back or did it stay sort of internal to the prison here? And that gives us a big clue too.
That sounds cool as hell.
Okay, so -1, you said?
Yeah, -1, and this is to have the information if you want to track it from the tower.
Okay. Flip a 6 into a 4, and I have the +2 and the -1, so that's 11. So I get 1 raise.
Oh my
shit.
god.
Dude,
Okay.
these dice are fire. I've never had dice that roll this well before.
It's actually kind of nice, kind of fun trying to come up with all the raises and shit, because it's like, man, well, I gave you what I was going to give you, but now what else can I do, Like the heals thing. Oh, that's cool.
It provides a lot of narrative options. I'm used to failing forward, which I think is the primary way that stories stay interesting, but it's cool to have the success every now and then
Yeah.
pay for it
Ulysses
later
is a
on.
prodigy.
Sure,
Yeah.
it makes
This is his thing.
You hacked into Crow Tower in like 2 minutes flat.
Yeah.
I do not like to put thoughts into characters' heads, but
God.
that's something that might occur to Claudius, is you've now seen this guy just ruin
Oh, yeah, for sure.
every security system he's come across.
Part of this conversation that we need to have is, can I hire you? I'll give you an edict. I don't know what, but my son is terrible at this, apparently.
Oh, God.
R.I.P.
Yeah,
Keaton.
sorry, Keaton.
Love you, bitch.
This is real hard, Dad. He's trying to get into an ATM
real
and
hard.
Ulysses is just hacking a bank.
Keaton's just holding his laptop and turning it like a steering wheel.
And Claudius is apparently too much of a boomer to know the difference. He's just like, oh, okay. Sorry. Can you help me log into my email? You're so good at this technology.
All right. Well, server administrators, email me, tell me how wrong I am.
As an IT professional, whatever he says is fine. Just say cloud. It'll make it work.
So you get one piece of the ID that once you find more information, you can corroborate to find the eventual identity. With the raise, you can start to build that Trojan horse idea. So I imagine you could write it up and send it through the tablet, but maybe with the raise, you realize there's some benefit if you could like remote send it through the tower instead. Do you have any ideas for that maybe? Like how you could more closely identify who this is? Because I think when you make that roll to send the Trojan, you'll end up finding out roughly where they are. And then if you got close enough to them and connected to their personal Wi-Fi when they were uploading to the cloud, you could identify them. But maybe this is better than that somehow.
The way that I conceptually imagine this working, especially with the more closed off networks, is with each point of connectivity, it's just another node, right? So like this device is a node that presumably connects directly back to the main tower, which feeds the internet and the data to all devices on the network. Instead of sending it directly on the tablet, which it would have to go back through the security protocols of the tower itself in order to continue tracking through the network. So if he does it directly from the tower, that's bypassing like one gate of security or possible ways that it might diminish what he's trying to do. So it's just a more direct point of access that in itself will also have more information available, presumably.
That's cool. Sweet, yeah. You get that stuff, no problem. The tablet's still muted. After you've gotten that, I think you see a flashlight outside of the front door, kind of moving towards the door or maybe towards your vehicle outside. You're not sure, but someone's outside with a flashlight since you guys just succeeded and didn't get a raise on the performance earlier.
Well, I can go out and distract whoever that is while you guys go to the tower.
Don't die.
Maybe we should ask too. In my head, we got driven here. So my guess is like that guy went out and put the flashlight up to the limo window and is like, what the fuck are you doing here?
My default is that you always have a driver, but I assumed for some reason this time you didn't. But if like always you do, that's fine.
So I have an idea here that might help facilitate this. Caleb, during our last session, I played a card that allowed me to draw an additional card. So we normally only have one. I had two. What I did was just replace the normal one that I drew with the new one I got. So I still technically have two, but if you want me to discard the other one, that's fine too.
No, it's fine.
So I have contact. The flavor text is, Reggie, you old scoundrel, how have you been? Your hero sees an old friend or acquaintance who might help him in his current quest somehow. Of course, he may also ask for a favor in return. So that could be the person coming to investigate right now. That would be somebody that either I or Claudius knows personally and is friendly with, who might not only not get us in trouble here, but help us get into the tower and get information.
That would be cool. I like that.
But I'm cool with it being Claudius's contact.
Well, here's what I was going to ask is I know Ulysses has sort of a checkered past, at least socially. Did he ever spend time here, like in this facility? Did he have to do jail time?
Ooh, that's a good point. You know what? That would make sense. That would make perfect sense.
I spent 2 days here.
That's a great... Can I nominate a Benny for that? Because that's a wonderful tie-in to my own backstory that I didn't even think about.
I'm raking them in.
Yeah, good idea.
Yeah,
grabbing Claudius.
The whole thing with his shamed hindrance is that he was the fall guy. He was the one, not that he wasn't responsible, because he definitely was, but he's the one who fell on the sword and took the blame for his entire family. And it was certainly stirred up in the media, and people were super pissed off about it to the extent that he had to dip out of the public eye for many years. So I think it would make a lot of sense if he had a mandatory jail sentence that was served here, maybe even in the same cell block. Maybe that's why he's somewhat familiar with all of the technology.
He's hacked this house
He was just able to hack it while he was on the inside. So he's just like, yeah, I've done this shit before. It doesn't matter.
I don't think Vivian knows about this.
Yeah. I think it would still make sense that you wouldn't recognize like A47 because like Ulysses doesn't pay attention to shit like that.
Yeah.
Sweet. So do we think, just a prison guard you made friends with?
That could be it. If maybe he was a prison guard at the time and now he's been promoted to like head guard. Maybe I'll even go a step further and be like, as part of Ulysses' like penance and trying to, live up to the family's name and stuff, he became friends with this guard while he was here. And then when he left, and I don't know how long he was here for, when he left, he wrote like a glowing letter of recommendation to the warden or whoever oversees here with the Wilders, just to really talk this person up and be like, yo, this person was extremely professional. They treated me appropriately, but not too appropriately. And you really have an asset on your hands. Not that it would have meant that much because he was shamed at that point, but
still nice.
So maybe he did them a solid.
He never let me escape too much. He's a good guard.
So if Claudius is going to go distract them, how do we have like Claudius not do that and him recognize Ulysses,
Well, if Ulysses and Vivian are like trying to sneak out the back or something like that, it could literally be them skulking away on the shadows and then Ulysses recognizing this person and just throwing caution to the wind and being like, oh, hey, how's it going? What's up?
Yeah, can we just skip to that? Is that cool?
Yes.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, Claudius, you go out front, you try to, smooth things over. Your driver's talking to this person, and then, you just see Ulysses react. What I need from y'all is, first thing that comes to mind, give me an accent, give me a character, okay? I'm going to do it badly, and that's the point. What first thing?
French.
Okay, so this...
Can his name be Carmichael?
No, his name is Maccabeo Beetle.
What? That's absolutely.
What is his name?
Maccabeo space Beedle. Maccabeo Beetle.
Wow.
Can I ask if I'm fine with it. Is there a reasoning behind that?
No.
Okay.
No.
I just like it.
Maybe he goes by Mac,
just like
or
it.
that's what Ulysses called him.
Or Bio or Mio. Anyway. Ulysses, how are you, my friend? What the hell are you doing sneaking around here in the dark like this?
Oh, Mac.
Are you back? Are you back for a bad time or?
Not that I'm aware of. It's really a long and very funny story. If I'm being honest here, I can tell you part of it if you'd like to walk and talk with us.
Sure. Where would you like to? I am on duty right now, but there is not much to do, so I am down for whatever, I guess. What do I look like though? What kind of guy am I?
He's a Frenchman.
I'm imagining he's got a very nice mustache, perhaps.
Is it like a Dolly mustache?
Yes. Maybe he's got the Van Dyke going.
I think he's got the most piercing green eyes.
Oh, Macabeo is a type of a grape, so maybe it's this really wispy green, like very light, sort of pastel green color eyes. So very thin mustache to offend the French makes sense. Maybe a mullet that might be, you can't tell in the night,
God.
but might be the best bullet you've ever seen, but you can't tell it's at night, so
Oh
it's
my gosh.
arguable.
It's
you know?
nebulous. It remains uncontested.
I need to introduce this man to my son.
Ulysses will never speak of this.
And then he's wearing some Wilder security colors, almost like the uniform from the Orville, but in cyan. So almost like a futuristic naval uniform, but with this sort of light sky blue color.
Is that the Wilder color?
Yeah, I think that's the Wilder color. It is now. It's canon. That's the Wilder
Nice.
color.
Hey, nice.
My favorite color, teal.
It's a good one.
My favorite character, Teal Wilder. Tag Wilder. Tag Wilder.
Teal Wilder, you son of a bitch.
Son of a bitch.
Well, certainly I did not expect to see her. This is abandoned. What are you doing here?
Out of character, would this be established enough that like Ulysses has reason to believe that his friend and confidant here would probably not immediately blab everything that they talk about? Or is he, I guess he probably has some level of being beholden to the Wilders.
Can we roll for disposition?
I mean, he's your friend. I'll tell you what. Why don't you roll a D20 for me? You got one of those out? Okay, higher the better.
Okay.
How well?
I got an 11, so quite middling.
Okay. So he's probably kept some secrets for you. Maybe he smuggled some stuff in for you. You have a pretty good relationship with him. You were friends when you were here. Maybe middling is that if he helps you out, it's kind of bad for him if anyone finds out about it anyway. You might know from the structure of it. He's technically beholden to them, but he just works for them. You know, he's not a part of their family or anything.
Maybe something that Ulysses could do for him is, while he's in the network, dig up something to make Mac look good. Like, be like, hey, you know, this is happening over there. Maybe that's something you could break up and get some credit, or
Oh, sure.
do something
Yeah,
to help
yeah.
pad his resume further.
Okay, sure.
You just hire this guy. This is his friend. I'm like, I can get you a better job than this fucking place.
I think you guys start walking and talking towards the tower. However much you want to tell him, I mean, he doesn't really pry too much. Like, do you tell him someone tried to kill you, or?
I think Ulysses is probably going to, unless somebody stops him, which out of character, I don't really care which way it goes, because he's not
Nah,
perfect.
go
Yeah.
for it.
Yeah. Well, Mac, it's it's the damnedest thing. Someone tried to kill me earlier today. As you can see, it didn't take. Got a couple of holes punched in me, but that's never stopped me before. I'm just kidding. I don't know that I've ever been shot. Anyway.
That is not good. You can't let people just try to kill you. Do you think it was someone at the prison that you upset? Maybe one of the other inmates or something? Why are you here?
Now that we think about that, that could be. Well, my extremely talented wife. Have you met Vivian? You haven't met
Oh,
Vivian.
I have
This is
not.
my
Hello.
trusted friend and confidant, Macabeo Beetle.
It is always lovely to meet the wife of a felon. I'm just kidding. Ulysses did not. It was not a felony. It was more like a boo-boo, you know.
Yeah, it's just bandage over. It's fine.
I
It's a
think it
pleasure
was
to
a
meet
felony,
you.
technically
I am
speaking.
Macabeo Beetle, and it is nice to meet you. I will be a recurring character. I'm going to come up all the time.
I
Yes.
will make sure of it. You deserve screen time. You're very talented and so personable, and you have a wonderful mustache. Anyway, my extremely talented wife, in the course of protecting my body, was able to apprehend one of the individuals responsible and dug up information that led us to this location.
Well, I can help you out however I can. It would not be good if other people knew you were here, so maybe we should keep you a little bit secret. But, come out of the cold. This is very cold on this side. We are almost close to the long dark, Why don't you come back to the tower? We'll put you in a conference room. This time of day is close to shift change, so a lot of people in their offices, not too many people moving around.
That's a wonderful idea, and I appreciate the offer and the assistance. But yes, we have some leads to pursue. But yes, if we could go inside for a spell to catch my breath, I would certainly appreciate it. Getting shot certainly takes it out of you.
And who is this very beautiful, handsome, smart gentleman next to you, sir? It is nice to meet you. I am Maccabeo. What is your name?
Well, I am Claudius. Very nice to meet you. Always a boon to have a friend in law enforcement.
That is what they say, but I have no friends in law enforcement, so I do not know what it is. A bunch of pricks in the industry, honestly. But what do you expect when you work for Tag and Isabel? Am I right?
My manners are atrocious, Claudius. I'm very sorry. This is I'm not very good at this. I will need some lessons from you. You and Vivian both, I think.
It's quite all right. Mr. Beadle, was it?
Yes.
Are you often assigned to this area?
For sure.
Would you be aware of anyone who's been in or out of this house recently?
Mostly, yes. Since Ulysses helped me out, I have been promoted. I look over this area, mostly stay in the tower, but I am not exactly familiar, but I would be happy to show you what we have. But I could not recollect an individual coming in here, for sure.
Any help would be appreciated, Mr. Beadle. We wouldn't like to see Ulysses be shot again, would we?
I would not. I don't think anyone would. He probably whines a lot, probably screams,
Vivian's knuckles tighten so hard they audibly crack.
That is traditionally what people do when they're wounded.
Well, yes, I'm not saying I would cry like a wee little baby, but, I was just saying probably not good. Probably too soon for that joke, though.
I have always appreciated your candor and sense of humor. It's refreshing to me.
I'm kind of a loose cannon,
At least loose cannons usually shoot straight.
Oh, shit.
It's a race to piss off the French.
He laughs. The three of you set off towards the tower. I think with the adventure cards you play, I think he sneaks you into just a server room. I don't think we have to roll for that. I think he tells you he's going to distract some people for you. It's good to see you. He just sets you up, give Ulysses a hug, locks the door behind you, and you can just open it on the way out. I think we just see you guys inside of like a darkened server room with little lights flashing everywhere and racks of just fans running on the back of these servers. Thank you for listening to Sounds Like Crows Terminus. You can find us online at Sounds of Crows on Twitter. You can always email us at soundslikeCrows@gmail.com. Thank you to our lovely patrons. Thank you to Ariel Weiss, Kirby, Devin Mingwasser, and Niles McDonald. Along with this week, Wolfgang, Chase, Kate, and Eric. Thank you all so much. Savage Worlds is owned by the Pinnacle Entertainment Group, who you can find at peginc.com. Music on the show was provided by myself or William Ecker. Thank you to my friends, the cast this week. Austin Holt played Claudius Crow. You can find him on our Discord server at Alchemist. Kira Nesbitt played Ulysses Rook. You can find her on her show at rpgforyouandme.com or wherever you found this podcast. Vivian Rook was played by Allie Nesbitt, who you can also find on that same show. We'll see you next week.